All right, Mr. D, let's talk about killing those weeds and lawns. How about that?
Yeah, good thing to do. Good thing to do.
Yes.
I'm going to first start talking about some of the least desirable.
Least desirable.
Or something this hose end sprayer, I have never been able to do a very accurate job of applying herbicides with this. It's good for some things, you know, spraying trees and things like
shrubs,
that.
Right.
But I personally I don't do a very accurate job of putting products out. And most of the herbicides are very specific about how much you need to put out per 1,000 square feet. And that means if you put too much right here, you may kill your turf grass. If you put not enough over there, you're not going to kill your weeds. So you need to be pretty exact when you're applying herbicides to your lawn. You need to do a really good job making sure you get an even application.
Okay.
You just don't
prefer that though?
I do not prefer the hose end sprayer.
Okay.
I'll let you have that. Another totally different way of putting out herbicide is dry form. There are dry forms of fertilizer out there that you can use your fertilizer spreader like this. This is an example of a fertilizer spreader, and I think it throws about a 10-foot swath.
It does. That's what I use at home.
Very, very accurate.
That's what I use.
And there are several herbicides out there that are strictly granular. And you can use this type of fertilizer spreader, the drop spreaders, the push type spreaders that also throw a pattern. They are very accurate, and you can do a really good job with those. Okay. Probably the most common way of putting it out is using spray tanks. This is a very common spray tank. I think this one will hold 2.5 gallons of water. You see it's labeled herbicide.
That's right.
That means you don't want to use this to spray your tomatoes for late blight, because you may have a little bit of herbicide left in the tank, and you may take care of your late blight, but you may also take your tomatoes out.
But you always mention it as well. You know, always talking about label.
Right.
Label.
Very, very important. I go with a little bigger rig here. I've got a backpack sprayer.
Nice.
I've had this for years, and I like it because I don't have to stop and keep and pump it up. And then go again. But this is a backpack sprayer. It'll hold 4 gallons of material, and
you have a gauge.
And I've got a pressure gauge on it, so I can hold it at the pressure that I want it at, or keep the pressure at the same. With one of these, you'll start out with high pressure, and when you finish, you've got low pressure, and you're putting out more product at high pressure than you are at low pressure. So that means all you need to do is just walk faster when you got high pressure, and then slow down, as you're doing the low pressure. It's very important to calculate how much water you're putting out. And I had looked at a label a little while ago of a common lawn product, and the recommendation was 1.5 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet. And that is it's a wide range in how much water you can use, from 0.5 gallons to 6 gallons of water.
That's a lot.
Probably the more water you use, the better off you are, in my opinion. That's just, you know, there's more margin for error when you're putting quite a lot of water out, and you're probably getting better coverage too when you're putting quite a lot of water out. But what we've got here in this area right here, I think that we're thinking about treating is 500 square feet. And so you need to determine the square footage that you want to treat. The label says 1.5 fluid ounces per 1,000 square feet. That means if you're only treating 500 square feet, then you need 0.75 ounces, half of 1.5 fluid ounces. So the first thing I would do is I would put just pure water in my tank and spray that area to determine how much water I use, you know. And we're going to do that. I've got 1.5 gallons of water in the sprayer right now, and so I'm going to spray this area, and we will then refill it and figure out how much water it takes to refill. And if I can look at the gauge on here. If I use 1/2 gallon of water on this 500 square foot area, then I know that all I need to mix up is 1/2 gallon of water when I get ready to spray, and in that 1/2 gallon of water I need to put 0.75 fluid ounces in that 1/2 gallon of water, and then spray it exactly the same way I did when I was doing the test, and then I have no waste. I'm not overdoing it and I'm not underdoing it. If you want to do what I said, mentioned about putting half out, going one way and half going the other way, then you half the 0.75, which would be 0.3 something or another, and you put that in a tank, put out a half a gallon going one way. It should be empty when you get through. Put your half gallon back in and put the other half in, and that way you can do away with your streaking. You may have some checkerboarding a little bit, but do away with your streaking. But let me put this thing on. Let's see how let's get this out of the way, and see how much water we're putting out in this area.
All right. So you're going to try to walk at what, normal speed, or?
Yeah, normal, just like I'm going to do when I'm spraying. And let me start right over here. I'll get back here and start.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Okay.
All right.
Let's see what we got. Okay, I put out about a half gallon of water. So that's kind of what we guessed that we would do.
Okay.
So I know that when I get ready to put the product in there and spray this, I need, if I'm going to do it in one application like that, I'll put 0.75 fluid ounces. That's the way you do it.
Okay.
And it's very accurate.
No, it's real accurate. One last thing. So what are your recommendations on spraying if the wind is too high? I mean, what is too high to spray?
Don't spray if the wind is too high.
Okay.
And probably 10 miles an hour, 10 mile an hour gust is probably as high as I would go.
Okay.
Ideally 4 to 10 miles an hour is good. If it's below 4, you may actually have temperature inversion, and that can increase the possibility of volatility, picking up and going off. Don't spray at night.
Don't spray at night. Okay.
Yeah, then that's usually when the inversions are more than likely.
Okay.
But that 4 to 10 miles an hour is probably pretty good.
Okay.
Pretty good thing to keep in mind.
Okay. One last question.
One other thing I want to say, be sure you read the label and understand these herbicides kill broadleaves, and they're designed to kill certain kind of weeds.
Right.
You notice I didn't get too close to the strawberries over here because that herbicide might kill strawberries, and so I didn't even want to get any drift on it, and I didn't want to get it to where the strawberry roots would get to it. So if you're going alongside flower beds, things like that, give yourself a buffer zone. It's better to have a deal with a few weeds than to kill your desirable plants.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you just that. Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because most of your plants, for the most part, are broadleaf.
That's true. Most of your ornamentals are.
So you got to be careful. All right, thanks for that demonstration, Mr. D.
Good deal. Most welcome.
Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. To find out more information on this topic, just click on the familyplotgarden.com link in the description.